Imagine a world where the biggest fights aren't with tanks and troops, but with things like patents, market share, stolen secrets even. A world where a country's security could actually depend on, the success or failure of just one tech company. Welcome to the deep dive. We're your shortcut to getting really well informed. We take complex stuff, boil it down to the key insights, and, well, we try to add some surprising facts to keep you hooked. Today, we're diving into something called Operation Market Mover. It's a really fascinating training mission. It's all about teaching operatives how to handle this new landscape, this world where economic strength and tech leadership they're fundamental to national security now. So our mission today is to unpack how these intelligence methods, the kind you usually think of with, like spies and traditional espionage, are being adapted. Adapted ethically, legally, mind you, to protect vital economic interests. And tech innovation, right here in the civilian world. We'll see how it takes a whole picture approach. Blending open source research, human insights, and strong cyber defense. It's all crucial. And our source for this deep dive, it comes straight from a comprehensive training brief called Operation Market Mover, Economic Security Training Mission. So think about this challenge. How do you defend a cutting-edge local tech company against a big foreign state-backed conglomerate that you suspect is up to no good stealing info, maybe sabotage? And you have to do it all completely within legal and ethical lines. That's the huge challenge this mission tackles, and that's what we're going to explore together. Usually when we think national security, we picture the military, right? Tanks, soldiers. But yeah, Operation Market Mover, it makes it really clear that the whole game has changed. The mission brief flat out says economic power and tech advantage are central to national security now.
It's a huge shift, a really profound one. The main goal of Operation Market Mover, you see, is securing a critical national interest. But it's within a simulated global market. So it's not about secret agents in trenches. It's about gathering intelligence, protecting a domestic company, Innovate Core in this scenario, and basically trying to ensure a good outcome for a key national industry in a very competitive, very open setting. What's really striking is how this prepares people for a future where, frankly, business savvy and economic defense are national security. It's way beyond old school spying.
And the specific scenario they use really paints a picture for you. Imagine a super competitive global market for some new tech, maybe advanced AI chips or next-gen batteries for green energy, something cutting edge. The good guys, the domestic company, are called Innovate Core. And the rival, the aggressor, is Titan Industries, a big foreign conglomerate backed by its government and, importantly, suspected of shady stuff like stealing information and sabotage.
Right. And what's really crucial here are the ground rules, the guiding principles for this kind of work. The brief hammers this home. Ethical and legal compliance paramount. That's number one. So it's absolutely clear this is legitimate intelligence work, not illegal corporate spying. It also emphasizes information advantage, not data volume.
So quality over quantity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Actionable insights are what matter, not just drowning in data. Then there's discrete and untraceable influence and, naturally, solid risk management. It's all about operating effectively but staying firmly within those legal and ethical boundaries.
Okay, so let's dig into how Innovate Core actually starts to tackle this. Step one is always knowing your enemy, right? So how does Operation Market Mover suggest gathering intel on a powerful player like Titan Industries without, breaking the rules?
Well, it starts with what they call a deep dive into OSBI. That's open source business intelligence and network mapping. And this is where the skill comes in. It's not just typing names into a search engine. They do things like financial forensics light, analyzing public financial reports, M&A history, investment patterns.
Looking for
Subtle clues, anomalies, maybe hidden subsidiaries, big debts or assets that could explain why Titan is acting so aggressively. Then there's patent and IP landscape analysis. Using databases, USPTO, EPO, WIPO, the usual suspects that track Titan's R&D. What are they working on? Where's their innovation headed?
Right, trying to see their next move.
Precisely. They also do supply chain visualization, mapping out who supplies Titan, who their key partners are. This helps spot weaknesses, single points of failure, maybe dependencies on politically sensitive suppliers that could be leveraged.
Interesting.
And they look into executive and board interlocks. Who's on their board? Do they have connections to government officials, research labs, trying to uncover those hidden networks, and even monitoring recruitment patterns, on sites like LinkedIn. Who are they hiring? What skills are they after? It can tell you a lot about their strategic direction.
Wow. Okay, so it's about connecting all these publicly available dots, essentially. Dots that most people probably wouldn't connect. But what about the human side? Humint. How do you gather intelligence from people in this business context while sticking to those ethical rules?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. They call it ethical humate simulation.
Mm-hmm.
So operatives might practice using a conference caller persona,
Wow.
meaning they simulate going to industry conferences, networking legitimately, just having normal conversations, but listening very carefully for insights shared, casually. A lot gets said over coffee breaks at those things.
True.
They also practice industry expert consultations, engaging real independent experts, paying them for their time to get insights on Titan's known strategies or general market trends. Perfectly legitimate. And then there's former employee outreach. This one is particularly sensitive, I bet. It has very strict ethical boundaries. They might simulate reaching out to someone who used to work at Titan, maybe asking for career advice or insights for a mock research paper.
Mm-hmm.
But the absolute key is it's only for general strategic information, trends, maybe management styles, never proprietary data or trade secrets. That line cannot be crossed.
That requires incredible discipline, I imagine. Okay, so you've gathered all this intel from financial reports, patents, maybe those casual conference chats. How do you weave that all together into something Innovate Core can actually use, a real understanding of the threat?
That's where threat model development comes in. It's about structuring the analysis. They create something called an attack tree for IP theft.
An attack tree.
Yeah, it's basically like brainstorming, thinking through every possible way Innovate Core's intellectual property could be stolen. Could it be an insider, a compromised vendor, a cyber attack, maybe even Titan trying an aggressive takeover bid or using legal pressure? You map out all the possibilities, and then for each potential threat actor, say a disgruntled employee or Titan's cyber unit, they do a motive, opportunity means analysis, MOM analysis.
Motive, opportunity means, okay.
Right. Why would they target Innovate Core? What chances do they have to succeed? And what resources or capabilities, the means, do they actually possess to pull it off? The core idea, you see, is that if you understand how you might be attacked, you can build much smarter, much more targeted defenses.
Okay, that makes sense. So now Innovate Corp has this much clearer sort of granulate picture of the threats from Titan Industries. The next logical step is defense, protecting their own house. How does Operation Market Mover guide them on shoring up defenses, both internally and against those external risks, like the supply chain?
A really big piece is insider threat detection and management. And this involves simulated investigations. So they'd analyze mock data, fake internal emails, data access logs, travel records perhaps, looking for suspicious patterns.
Like what?
Oh, maybe someone accessing sensitive project files late at night, or printing huge volumes of documents, or making frequent trips to places known to be linked to Titan red flags. There's also a pretty clever, almost spy novel tactic called the honeypot or canary trap simulation.
Sounds intriguing.
It is. Basically, you plant some harmless but tempting bait, maybe some fake confidential documents, in a place you can monitor digitally. If someone you suspect tries to access or copy that bait, well, it helps confirm your suspicions without risking any actual sensitive information.
Clever. Okay, but what about those outside connections? The suppliers, the partners. Innovate Core could have Fort Knox internally, but if a key supplier gets hacked...
Exactly. That's a huge vulnerability. So supply chain integrity and vendor vetting is critical. Operatives practice doing simulated due diligence on key third-party vendors. They're looking for weaknesses in the vendor's security, or maybe dodgy ownership structures that Titan could exploit. They also set up a tiered risk assessment for vendors. High risk, medium risk, low risk, based on how critical they are and how much access they have. And they work on strengthening contractual safeguards, writing security requirements right into the contracts with those vendors.
So you're pushing security outwards into your ecosystem.
Precisely. Because like you said, your security is often only as strong as your weakest link. And that link might be outside your own walls.
And Innovate Core's most precious asset, arguably, is its intellectual property, its inventions, its code, its secret sauce. How does Operation Market Mover focus on protecting that?
Yeah, protecting the IP is absolutely central. That falls under IP protection and data leakage prevention, or DLP. This starts with reviewing Innovate Core's existing IP protection measures. Are they adequate? Then implementing a data classification scheme, basically labeling data, this is top secret, this is confidential, this is public, so everyone knows what needs the most protection.
Makes sense.
They also tighten up access control audits. Who has access to what sensitive data? Do they really need it? And are those accesses being logged and reviewed? And they recommend conceptual DLP systems. These are tech solutions designed to monitor data leaving the company via email, USB drives, cloud uploads, and block unauthorized transfers of sensitive info. It's like a digital border guard for your data.
So it's a multi-layered approach. Policy, access controls, technology.
Absolutely. IP protection isn't just one thing. It's a whole system constantly needing attention.
And of course, the elephant in the room today is always cyber. It's such a massive threat vector. How does the mission prepare operatives for that front?
Oh, absolutely essential. Cyber counter-espionage is a major module. This involves learning to analyze mock indicators of compromise, IOCs.
Those are like the digital fingerprints left by hackers.
Exactly. Little clues, weird network traffic, unusual logins, specific malware signatures that suggest a system has been breached or is being targeted. Learning to spot those signs attributed, potentially, to Titan. The mission also explores using deception technologies, things like honeypots again, but also maybe setting up fake network segments that look attractive to an attacker.
Luring them in.
Precisely. You lure them into this controlled environment where you can watch what they do, learn their methods, their tactics, techniques, and procedures, or TTPs, without putting your real systems at risk. And really, fundamentally, they recommend implementing a secure software development lifecycle, SSDLC.
Building security in from the start.
Yes. Instead of finding bugs and vulnerabilities after the software is built, you integrate security checks and best practices into every single step of development. It's far more effective, far less costly in the long run, proactive, not reactive.
Okay, so Innovate Core has now theoretically bolstered its defenses internally in its supply chain for its IP and against cyber threats. How does it shift from just playing defense to maybe going on the offense, gaining a strategic edge using this intelligence, but again, staying within those ethical lines? This feels like a really fine line to walk.
It is a fine line, and that's where strategic communications and narrative control, ethical influence comes in. So one tactic is commissioning simulated white paper initiatives. These would be independent-looking research papers, maybe from a think tank or academics, highlighting broader market risks. Risks associated with, say, aggressive state-backed companies or monopolistic practices.
But without naming Titan directly.
Exactly. You shape the environment, the conversation, raising concerns about certain types of behavior, making the market and regulators more aware without making direct accusations you might not be able to prove yet. They also look at media engagement, but indirectly. This isn't planting fake news. It's about providing carefully vetted, factual, publicly available information to reputable journalists who are already looking into the industry or related issues. You help them connect the dots with facts.
Letting the story emerge naturally.
Right, and internally using the investor relations strategy. Being proactive in telling your own shareholders about the competitive challenges and the steps you're taking to protect the company and its assets. Transparency can build confidence.
Okay, influencing the narrative. What about more direct confrontation, like in the legal arena? Can the intelligence be used there?
Definitely. Regulatory and legal leverage is another key part of the strategy. Based on the intelligence gathered about Titan's behavior, the team might advise Innovate Core on a potential antitrust analysis. Does Titan's dominance or tactics violate competition laws? They'd also prepare the groundwork for trade secret litigation. If they do find concrete evidence that Titan stole IP, they need to be ready to take legal action swiftly and effectively. And, importantly, they might prepare intelligence briefings for relevant government agencies.
Sharing what they found.
Yes, outlining the national security implications of Titan's actions. If a foreign state-backed entity is undermining a critical domestic industry, governments tend to get interested. This could lead to regulatory investigations, trade actions, maybe even diplomatic pressure. It's using the system, the rule of law, strategically.
And then there's the ultimate protection, safeguarding the absolute core assets, the crown jewels, what Innovate Core calls its golden goose. Maybe it's a key piece of tech, a brilliant research team. How do you protect that?
Protecting the golden goose requires specific protection and continuity strategies. This is top-tier security. It includes things like talent retention and counter-recruitment. If your golden goose is your people, you need robust plans to keep them happy, and counter-aggressive poaching attempts by rivals like Titan may be informed by that OSBI on their hiring tactics.
Makes sense. Keep your stars.
Absolutely. It also involves creating secure R&D enclaves. These are ultra-secure areas, physically and digitally isolated from the rest of the company, where the most sensitive research and development happens. Think air-gapped networks, strict access controls, maybe even specialized construction. And finally, advising on diversification of IP storage. not keeping all your most critical blueprints or source code in one single place, spreading the risk across multiple secure locations.
So no single point of failure for the really vital stuff.
Exactly. Some assets are just too important to risk. They need layers upon layers of protection.
This all sounds incredibly resource-intensive and, frankly, like a never-ending job. This isn't something Innovate Core does once and then forgets about, is it? How does Operation Market Mover address the need for long-term security and competitiveness, keeping this vigilance up constantly?
You're absolutely right. It's not a one-shot deal. It has to be continuous. A marathon, like you said earlier. So the mission strongly advises establishing a permanent competitive intelligence unit inside Innovate Core. This involves training and methodology transfer, teaching Innovate Core's own people these techniques so they can sustain the effort themselves, and recommending the right technology implementation, like monitoring tools, to help automate some of the ongoing intelligence gathering and analysis.
Building the capability in-house.
Precisely. They also stress regular security posture review and stress testing. This means conducting regular tabletop exercises, simulating crises. What if there's a massive data breach? What if a key supplier suddenly goes offline? And practicing the response plan. And recommending periodic third-party audits to get an objective outside view of their security.
Keeps you honest.
It does. And finally, continuous legal and ethical safeguard reinforcement. Ongoing compliance training for all employees, not just the security team, and setting up strong whistleblower protection programs so people feel safe reporting suspicious activity internally. So putting it all together, what does this really mean for us, for how we should think about this? It's clearly a continuous, deeply integrated approach. Security isn't just an IT problem or a legal problem anymore. It's woven into strategy, HR, R&D, supply chain, every single part of the business. And it elevates economic security to a genuine national priority, maybe in ways many of us haven't really considered before. That's a great summary. Yeah, our deep dive into Operation Market Mover, I think, really highlights how these sophisticated intelligence skills are being repurposed, adapted for the economic battlefield, if you will, to protect innovation, to protect economic strength. It's a really compelling look at the kind of proactive, multi-layered strategies that are becoming necessary in today's world. Maybe that leaves us with a final thought, or perhaps a question for you, the listener. Knowing about these kinds of sophisticated tactics, seeing these blurring lines between national security and global business competition, how might that change the way you look at international business? Or even how you think about the security of the technology, the data, the innovations you rely on every single day? It's worth considering those unseen battles that are constantly shaping our technological future.